Hey everybody, this is Ryan E. Louie. This is my very first podcast. We are calling it the Digg Series. I've been excited and I've been wanting to start this for a while. I give a couple of shout outs to my family. That is Hudson and Olivia and Lance. Folks are awesome. Always remember that. Hey, to all my students, not only the ones that are in Studio Louie, but the ones that I teach in my school district, so that's in Medina City Schools, Wadsworth City Schools, and Strongsville, and beyond, even at Avon Lake. Anyway, you folks are an inspiration and a good part of why I'm doing this podcast. So let's get started on this. Today's podcast is going to be on art versus fear. The number one deterrent of art is fear. So let's get into it. Over all my experiences of being an artist, of being a musician, of being human, the things that stop my progression the most is fear. It is fear that keeps me from trying out for a team. It is fear that keeps me from progressing as a person. I'm always so scared of like, hey, what happens if somebody thinks this? What happens if when I try and do something and I put all my effort into it, it will not succeed? Fear exists on many, many, many different levels. So let's talk about kind of how fear works, and are there things that we can do to face them to help us not only to become better musicians, become better artists, and be more expressive, but also just really become better human beings. Okay, so a lot of what I deal with on a day-to-day basis is something called performance anxiety. Performance anxiety is probably one of the bigger things that keeps me from being a better musician, that keeps me from maybe reaching the potential of what it is that I'm going to do, whatever task that it is, or whatever performance I have in front of me. So one of the things that we have to come to grips with are like, what are the things that cause performance anxiety? What happens to the body? What happens to the brain? And then how does that manifest itself through our performance? So one of the first things that we have to deal with and accept that it is our body goes through a thing that is called fight or flight. Fight or flight dates way back into the early days of battle, when somebody was going to be in a confrontation of some kind, whether it was battle or war or anything. The body goes through a change, which is fight or flight. Fight or flight is where your adrenaline picks up, where your senses become more enhanced. It is a big shot of adrenaline that goes through your body. What happens are some of these symptoms are that your heart starts pounding faster, your hands get sweaty, your blood circulates faster through your body, as if it is preparing to go into battle. Right? Okay, so how does that even function before you perform? Or before you give a speech in front of people, before you have to read in front of the class, before you have to go down the line and play an exercise. And you folks know what I all mean by that. And if you don't, you can ask me in my comments. You can always reach me on my website. It is RYUNLOU.com, RyanLou.com. You can reach me that way, and through any other social media sites, which will be listed here on my website. I always look forward to your comments. I do try and reply back to all of them. And so anyway, getting back to fight or flight. So what happens? Well, my hands get sweaty. My heart beats faster. Sometimes, I forget what I'm doing. So how do I get my brain and my body to regulate, to get into a place to where I can perform to the best of my ability? Well, we're going to get into this a little bit. And so performance anxiety, I kind of list into kind of two different places that's in my brain. I have self one and self two. When I talk about these kind of things, it is always I read a bunch of books. One of them is called The Inner Game of Music by Barry Green, which came from the Inner Game of Tennis by Tim Galloway. And really then it actually stems from The Art of the Zen of Archery. I think it's more about that. And it is how to get your brain to perform, and your body, of course, like you've practiced. So the first thing is that I kind of divide it up into two selves, self one and self two. Self one to me is my person that is going on right now. It is the one that is existing. The self two is the person that could be if I can get into a state of mind where I can perform and not think about all the things that come into a performance, and we'll get into that in just a second too. So the self one is the one that is practicing. It is the one that is preparing every day for any given performance. And so as you're going through your practice, and it should be extensive, it should be with patience and being meticulous and being all those things that we know on how to go about doing. But it's when we get to the point of our, to our performance, how do we deal with fight or flight? And that is the thing that can get in the way of our self two, which is our potential energy of what our performance could be. I always look at it as that it is that little voice that is inside of me that is kind of chirping at me, talking to me about a whole bunch of things. First of all, your hands are sweaty, you got butterflies in your stomach, and how to deal with that. And then you have that voice going, well, I hope you don't mess up in front of everybody. You put a lot of time and effort into this, so maybe this one lick that you're playing or this one passage of music will not come out the way that you've practiced. Do you even know if you're going to be able to do that? Is the instrument going to go wrong? Are the stick's going to slip out of your hands? There are so many things that you're thinking about. One time I had made a list about all the things I thought about during a performance. This is when I was younger. And, I made out a list of a whole bunch of stuff from, I wonder if my bow tie is crooked. I wonder if I look good. I wonder if my practicing had been the right way. I wonder if I'm just going to forget everything when it comes my turn to play. I wonder where I am if I'm counting rest, where I am in my rest. I wonder if the sticks are going to slip out of my hand. I wonder if everybody's going to think that I'm a horrible player. Not only the ones in the audience, but my peers that are next to me. A litany of things will always cross through my head. So how do I silence that voice or that constant thing that is nagging at me? Well, that's what the inner game helped me to do in dealing with performance anxiety and fight or flight. These are all very, very common things. And, it translates itself way beyond just performance in music or in art. It can go over into any part. When you have to give a report of any kind, whether you're a professional or a student, if you ever get nervous, these are some of the things that we can do. We'll talk about that's going to help us get into a better place so that we are able to execute and perform the way that we have prepared and practiced. How to get rid of that voice. So I'm going to talk about like some of the things that I do that are going to help to get me into a better frame of mind. So the first thing that I do is I want to make sure that I am well prepared for anything that is going to be put in front of me. So if it's a performance or if it's a presentation, if it's a recital, if it's any of those things, it is a place where I can get to in my brain to where that little voice is not as present. And so one of the things that I do is that I kind of go through some deep breathing exercises. I make sure that I take some deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And as I breathe in, one more. I usually use the number 3, no more than 4. And where I am right now, I have kind of emptied out my thoughts. I have emptied out my brain. If I have butterflies in my stomach, I kind of like mentally kind of blow those out. Not literal butterflies, of course, but anyway, to where I'm in a much different state of mind where I can be a little more clear, and that little voice is not talking to me as much. That is the place that I want to get to. And this is just kind of the beginning when it comes to being able to perform in such a way to where you can react to everything that's going around you. And that's the peers that you play with, your teammates, your audience members, and other kinds of factors that go into it. I'm going to share a story with you, and it is about when I was in college at the University of Utah. We were our college percussion ensemble, conducted by Doug Wolf, was preparing us for PASIC, our performance there. PASIC stands for Percussive Art Society and Convention. Our percussion ensemble was the featured group, and we spent months and months and months preparing for this. And that mental game that we're talking about, like the inner game, was so part of our preparation process that we even saw a sports psychologist that would come and talk to us. His name was Keith Henshin. He was head of or at least the psychologist with the gymnastics team. And at that time, they were one of the nation's best gymnastics team. And he would talk to us about how to get into a better state of mind, not only as an individual performer, but as a performer in a chamber group and an ensemble like the University of Utah Percussion Ensemble. And I remember we were in LA performing there, and we had rehearsed for hours and hours and hours and months and months and months, and we had done all the correct preparations for that. We were in the middle of one of our pieces, and the power went out. All the lights went out in the ballroom, in the convention center, and then they clicked back on, and so there was no light. It was pitch black, and then it came back on. And all I remember, and for you, those who were in the percussion ensemble back then, I don't know if you're listening to this, but a shout out to you folks. But that if you remember, we did not miss a note. We didn't flinch. We just kept on playing. I can't even remember how long the power was out, but it went out. It was pitch black. None of us missed a note. And then it came back on, and it was just as if nothing ever happened. That is just one experience of like how to deal with performance anxiety, not only as an individual, but as a group, as a chamber ensemble. We did not miss a note, and it was just like nothing ever happened. We got done with the performance, which was an incredible experience, and you're feeling so great. And you're celebrating with your teammates and your peers, and it was an incredible experience. And then you have that story on top of it where all the power went out, and it was just really, really, really crazy. But needless to say, it is because of the mental game that we were able to move forward through this. You know, all my groups, when it comes to drum lines or percussion ensembles, I'm sure you can share some of those same experiences as we talk about it. You know, I always look at a performance that, you know, I'm in the right frame of mind or the right zone is like you're just feeling and reacting to the environment, to the audience, to everybody that's around you. And sometimes you don't remember like specific details of your performance. But when you get done, you know that you're in this place where the music was kind of moving through you. You could feel that the audience was engaged in what you're doing. And what it does, you know, I mean, really, it brings a real natural high to you. I was playing at the Montreux Jazz Festival with an incredible group called Larkin Spur. And it was more of a jazz group for sure. We had kind of started our tour throughout. We started in Paris, then went up into Normandy, into Deauville, and then went through the Alps into Lausanne, and we were playing there. This is in Switzerland now, and then we were finishing up in near Lake Geneva at the Montreux Jazz Festival. And we got done playing a set at the Montreux Jazz Festival. You're cooking, man. You're signing autographs, and you're just, you're living on such a great high. During that our performance, we were playing, and you could feel the energy from the audience. You could feel the energy from the players, and it was like you could do no wrong. And for us percussionists and drummers and musicians, the pocket was so big. I mean, it was just such a large pocket of time, man. It was an incredible evening of playing, and all your senses were enhanced. So you got done, and you're just cooking. And this is all a natural high. I mean, when it's a natural high, there's nothing like it. I was up smoking a cigar up, on the balcony of our hotel. I could see Lake Geneva, the moon setting on there, and the boats, the promenade was hopping. You could hear music all over it, people enjoying life. And, I tell you, those kind of experiences are absolutely irreplaceable when it comes to playing, performing, experiencing, absorbing, all of those kind of things, and an experience that I will never, ever, ever forget, and one of the greatest experiences. As being an artist and a musician, we get to be a part of all of the time. What drives us to practice, what drives us to sacrifice, what drives us to open up our souls every time we play. So I guess what we're trying to talk about is that, to get to that place to where your art and your fear, you deal with both, and you get to a place to where you can be, and both exist. It's not like fear doesn't go away. Fear is always there, but it's how to manage it in such a way to where you can express yourselves, you can be a better person, you can be a better artist, you can be a better musician, and how it affects every part of your life. And so that's with performance anxiety. And again, I just want to recap how important it is that we take that step forward every day, and we are able to, how do I put it, be courageous, and put ourselves, sometimes it's okay to put yourself out of your comfort zone. What does that mean, to put yourself out of your comfort zone? I think every once in a while it's okay to experience something that's new. And it doesn't only have to be like art related. In life, life is expanding. Life can be encompassing in many different ways, and it just doesn't have to do with art, but it can deal with almost anything. If you're going through big, gigantic changes in your life, and how to have that courage to have that leap of faith or that step to where you're going to go. You know what? I am going to take a deep breath, and I am going to do it. This was my first podcast. I have many people to thank for this, all in post. My son Hudson, who is a film and television major up at DePaul University. I'm so very proud of him. He's going to help me do this in post and how to make this better. I'm going to try and, for sure, I'm going to put this up on my YouTube page and then on my website. You can find it there. Through that, I think I can get it onto other media outlets, say Spotify and iTunes and everything throughout that. I'm trying to keep these podcasts anywhere between 20-something minutes, no more than 30 as I go through this. I always look forward to your comments. You can find my contacts on my website, ryanlou.com, RYUNLOU.com. Please comment, and I will see you next time. This is the Digg Series with Ryan E. Louie.